Good evening and welcome back from a wonderful holiday vacation. This is the Ridgewood Village Council Public Workshop. The date is January 10th, 2024. The time is 7:33. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled the same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Perrin.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds is absent. Councilmember Whites.
Here.
Councilmember Winograd.
Here.
And Mayor Vagianos.
Here. Will you all please join us in a salute to our flag? We will now go to public comment.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, great, okay. My name is Janet Daly, 386 Pondfield Place in Ridgewood. This is regarding the parking on Rain and Court. I have been a Ridgewood resident for 50 years. And I am currently on the board, and I am past president of Connections. Connections is a retired women's group. Most of our members are Ridgewood residents. We meet at the First Presbyterian Church at 722 East Ridgewood Avenue, and the First Presbyterian Church is across the street from Rain and Court. We meet from 10 a.m. to about 12:30 on the third Tuesday of the month from September to June. We have a range of maybe 30 to 60 members at a meeting. There is not enough room for all of us to park at the First Presbyterian parking lot on South Van Dien. So we spill over into the neighborhood, and some of our members park on Rain and Court. We have been parking there for 5 years, since we started meeting at the First Presbyterian Church. And we instruct our members to follow the parking signs. And we have never heard a complaint from a resident or the police department about our parking on Rain and Court. And we hope to continue to be able to park there for our once-a-month meetings from 10 to 12:30. Please consider Connections parking needs when you make your decision on parking on Rain and Court. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I have a copy.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone else? We have some people on hybrid access. First one is Jan Phillips. Good evening, Jan.
Good evening. Jan Phillips, 234 Union Street, obviously Ridgewood. And let me just start off by saying a happy and healthy New Year's to all of you. So I have just a couple of things, and they're really with a heart full of gratitude. The first that I want to say is thank you for that amazing website. As someone who's been involved with community policing and community events and the Community Relation Board, that website, very specifically, when you click on the police department, the ability to see the police roster is so important to community policing and so important to the beloved community. And the beloved community. And let me just start off by saying.
No, we have an echo, Jan, and our tech crew is working on it.
Can I still, do you want me to wait?
If you wait just a moment, because we can't hear very clearly.
Thank you for that amazing website. As someone who's been involved with community policing and.
I think we're good, Jan. Please continue.
Sure. So just to sum up, thank you for the amazing website and for the progressiveness of including the police roster. And my tie into the beloved community is, and I saw it on the, as I was waiting for this meeting to start, I saw it on the community bulletin board this weekend is Martin Luther King weekend. It's the longest ongoing celebration in the state. We do our program, kickoff Friday in conjunction with the library. Saturday is the day of service where toiletries and needed foods for the pantry at Ridgecrest are collected. But Sunday, we're doing something really different and exciting, and we haven't done this since the pandemic. And that is we are welcoming folks to Friends Community Church on Prospect for an art and music festival. And those of you in the community who are familiar with the music of Mac Brandon and the connections will be excited about a special free concert. And in addition to local artists, it's going to be wonderful. And then Sunday is our annual, starting at 10 a.m., interfaith celebration and service. And the guest preacher this year will be our very own Arturo from Emmanuel Baptist. So I thank you all and stay healthy because we need you, and much love. Thanks, folks.
Thank you, Jan. Rurik, you're up.
Rurik Halaby, 1 Franklin Avenue. 3 points. Point 1, congratulations on the first anniversary of the new Village Council. You have accomplished so much in this 1 year. Too many accomplishments to list in my limited time, but I should say the most important thing you have accomplished is changing the tenor of the village. You are bringing out the best of the residents, and this will make Ridgewood flourish. Point 2, thank you, Siobhan, Keith, and Dylan for the terrific new website. Getting on the website, I feel like I'm driving a Ferrari. To those who miss the Model T Ford, you can still get on the old website. So, and good luck on that. Among other things, I was impressed by the listing of the various committees, the members, and the dates of meetings. I was able to get these intuitively and fast. I encourage residents to get on the website and to push it to the limit. There are undoubtedly sections that can be improved. I encourage you to email Dylan Hanson with your suggestions. Dylan is professional and responsive. Point 3, the budget. You were able to dodge the bullet last year. This year should give you the opportunity to study the budget from scratch. Zero-based budgeting, as it is called. Nothing should be sacred. Reconstituting the Financial Advisory Committee can help immeasurably. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and keep up the good work. I'm so proud of you all. Take care.
Thank you, Rurik. Denise, you're up.
Good evening. Happy New Year. First, want to just give a shout out to all the good work that Keith and the team are doing with over communicating everything that's happening with storm and emergency and management and roads being closed, being open, being closed, be careful. It's a breath of fresh air to see the communications. So really appreciate that.
Denise, could you give us your
yeah.
your address, full name and
Yes.
address?
Thank you, Pam. I'm sorry. Denise Lima, 319 East Glen Ave. Yes, it's been a year so far. Congratulations. I would like to see us have an update on the town garage. I went through my notes and I didn't see us giving any updates last year on that project, and maybe we can add it as a project on the website so we can better keep track of where we are and what we're doing. Second is the master plan. There weren't a whole lot of updates on the master plan as far as execution. And I just want to mention to everybody that the word history and historic is coming up 696 times in the master plan. So it's woefully important. And one of the recommendations on page 59 is about protecting the corridors and limiting billboards, utilities, architecture, and actually making changes to the zoning policies. And so when we talk about the Route 17 corridor, and Pam, I sent you an email a few weeks ago, what are we doing to execute on making that corridor historic in our tax plans, in our zoning maps? Because I haven't seen any updates to that. So maybe I'd like to see that in the future. And then last, the new website, there are a lot of good things. I sent a few emails about things that are broken and wrong. And Siobhan, I see that you're making changes already. And Dylan, thank you on the fly for those things. I don't see that there are tangible, really truly tangible or significant changes that really accelerate or streamline the processes. In fact, I'm clicking more click-throughs to get through to certain things, when in fact there should be less click-throughs. And so, especially when there's external web pages or, clicking down to all the police and finally getting the content there. So I still think there is room for improvement. I don't know that it's worth $40,000 or whatever the costs were. I also find it confusing when the website says, these are for residents and these are forms and this is how do I do things. And it's repetitive but not complete. So where should residents go for forms? Or should they go to the how-to section? And so I just think there's a lot of naming conventions that are inconsistent. What we call news, is it a spotlight, is it an event? Where does it show up? I think, if we can get some consistency there, that would be great. And I know I've been sending emails, so thanks for making those changes already this week. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Excuse me. Thank you, Denise. Christine, you're up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christine Fleischman, and I live at 518 East Saddle River Road in Ridgewood. I am a 27-year resident of the town, and like so many others in Ridgewood and on the Saddle River, we are having major issues with the water. So I just like to bring up some facts. Honestly, I'm not prepared for this. We've had a bunch of issues with water. 6 actually since September 30th. I've been in this town for 3 major floods, and I'm requesting a formal meeting with the mayor, the village manager, and the town council for the Saddle River residents. I know that there are many other issues about flooding, but I just am concerned about the Saddle River and the repeated flooding. And there were a bunch of topics that I spoke to Keith about, but I think I know there are other people that are waiting to speak, and I know many of my neighbors are still dealing with flood cleanup, as I am myself. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not really prepared. I just wanted to bring up the topic. I'm sure there are many other people that are going through the same thing on the Saddle River, as well as Hohokus and other issues with flooding, but I just like to know what's being done for the residents on the Saddle River. So I will follow up at the next meeting and with emails with additional questions. I just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Christine.
And I will be in touch.
Thank you, Christine. Susan, you're up.
Hello, I'm Susan Ruan. What is it, 705 Kingsbridge Lane. I am piggybacking off of what Christine, major topic with Christine, is East Saddle River. I will say I'm disappointed in this village council, and I apologize for that, because so much has been paid attention to the football fields and the various other sports fields. Even I received a report for the September flooding of 2023, and even though my next door neighbors lost 2 of their cars in the flooding, We had it in our backyard. There was absolutely no drone footage of the flooding for residents on Saddle River. It just concentrated on the Hohokus Brook and all the fields linked to that brook. So I expect to have some sort of more comprehensive going forward on how this village council will be dealing with this, with Saddle River. Also, I would like to know what are their insights, or what are they going to be doing with the advent of the new law that New Jersey just passed, that sellers and landlords have to disclose about flooding history of their property. Again, this is something that I thought the village council would be proactive for, and not something that reactive. And again, I'm a little bit disappointed. And finally, the footbridge. That thing has been an eyesore for so many years. And I hope for this for this budget, it will finally be fixed. I will probably be at the meeting that Christine is trying to organize with the various representatives, because I believe people should be vocal about this. I mean, I have residents on Howard that are having to deal with flood damage right now, which again, absolutely no drone footage that was taken in September 2023 of Saddle River being flooded, only Hohokus Brook and the high school and various fields. Again, shame on you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Muncy, you're up.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Monserrat Limon. I live in 494 East Saddle River Road. And my question is for our village manager, Keith Kamasak. I would like to know what was discussed with the naval engineers regarding the Saddle River flood risk remediation. We, all the neighbors, would like to know what is happening there and what can be done to mitigate the risk of flooding in our street.
Do you have anything else, Muncy? Because it's not a dialogue, perhaps the village manager, if he's prepared, will answer at the end of public comment, but it's not.
Yeah, maybe an email for all the neighbors could be great, because we are like knowing nothing about what's happening, and we have been getting water in our homes, and this has been I have been here for 6 years, and I lost my half of my house on Ida, and this year has been 3 major floodings, and my house just get surrounded by water, completely surrounded like an island in the middle of the river. So I need to know what's gonna happen. I don't know if he can reach to us and I don't know, set a meeting with us and see it and talk about it, and just want to tell him that we need him and we would love to sit with him and talk about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Muncy. Olga, you're up.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry to say that you have yet another East Saddle River resident on the call. I've lived here for 20 years, 2 major floods.
May I have your name and address, please?
It's Olga Burton, and the address is 506 East Saddle River Road. You know, obviously climate change is real, and things have changed dramatically since we moved here over 20 years ago. So I don't expect the town to have a cure for everything that's happening around us, but I think the hope is that we can work together to try to at least do everything in our power as a community to help each other and the residents that live in these flood prone areas. So I think the goal would be to have a separate meeting ASAP. The wounds are fresh from last night, and it's just been one rain event after the other. And that coupled, as Suzanne mentioned, with the footbridge down the street, which has been sitting there unattended to and it very much feels like we're kind of like the forgotten part of town that doesn't really get prioritized. So the goal is to have a meeting with an engineer and people who can really speak to this issue and hopefully work with us to try and come up with some solutions, or at least try to.
Thank you, Olga. Micheline, you're up.
Hello, my name is Micheline Bailey, and I'm at 512 East Saddle River. So this is clearly another piggybacking on Christine and Susan and Olga and everything they've said about the issues with the river and the lack of concern for that area. Can you go away? Sorry. It definitely gets overlooked, as opposed to, like Susan was saying, the Ridgewood High School football field is constantly doted over when it floods, and it's such a big concern to everybody. But meanwhile, you have this entire row of houses on this creek that turns into an ocean after it floods. And I mean, we've had to deal with a few floods, one pretty serious one since we've been there. So definitely, I'm just jumping on that bandwagon, and I think it needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Micheline. Stanley, you're up next.
Good evening. My name is Stan Kukulka. I live at 500 East Saddle River Road in Ridgewood. I'm also commenting on the last few as well. After been here with Ridgewood 22 years now, and I've seen many floods, and it's just getting worse and worse. I'm looking at is there any plan to dredge the river or clean it? I'm sure I'm with others in my neighborhood who would be probably willing to help, but we need this river cleaned up. There's a lot of debris causing bottlenecks, and my house has been flooded many times, and many remediations, and it's just, I can't take it anymore, and I'm sure all the other residents feel the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Leor, you're up next.
Hi, good evening. Leo Ruan, 705 Kingsbridge Lane, Ridgewood. I just want to, like the other residents of this side of town, I just wanted to reiterate here that, today I spent all day today was cleaning up after a flood in my basement, which got flooded. I was up till 4:30 last night, watching the river, literally going out every 15, 20 minutes, hoping to see that my house wasn't going to get flooded. I would like to reiterate what the other people have said. Can the river be dredged? Is the town looking at any solutions for the residents of to help the actual residents of the town with the flooding issue? So if the council can put on the agenda the ability to help the people here on the east side of Ridgewood, particularly with the flooding on Saddle River, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Anyone else? Oh, we have a new one. Ji Hao, you're up.
Hello, this is Ji Hao from 10 North Lane, Ridgewood. We moved to the town in 2021, and the topic of my today is also about the flooding issue. We got our first major flood when we moved to the house, like about 2 months, the Eda one. and we do see more frequent flooding happening, especially in the last few months. There are probably 2 or 3 happening, but not the Saddle River, but it's Hokusburg. So my question and concern is also about, is there any solution or plan from the town for this flooding issue in this area? And my neighbor is also suffering the same issue, and they could not join the meeting today, unfortunately. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Zhihao. Next up, Echo. You're on mute, Echo. Good.
Sorry, everyone. Echo Gao, 690 Howard Road. We moved in our current house back in 2017. We had a peaceful couple of years until Ida. In that event, we lost our cars, and our basement was completely flooded from bottom to ceiling. And our first floor above the basement was about 3 feet high. And we had a major restoration at that time, reconstruction. It went on for about 3 months. And I have 2 young children at home. At that time, one was 6 years old, one 3 years old. And they have seen this, they were a little bit traumatized. They were so terrified when the flood came. And then again, last month, there was a minor flooding in my house. And last night, as my neighbor had described, we stayed up all night, and my basement was again flooded last night, and the first floor, laundry, office, children's playroom, everywhere was water. I had to call my contractor like first thing in the morning, and they came. They spent the whole day. I asked 1 day off, completely day off, working with my husband and contractors, housekeeping crews, and to just clean my house. And they demolished the walls, the drywall and everything. And we will have to rebuild our wall and every room again. It was just 2 years ago, right? And the last restoration happened. And I just can't, as my neighbor mentioned, I just can't deal with this anymore. We love the village, we love the neighborhood. Just this flooding at Saddle River is so unbearable. And not only myself, my family, my children are suffered a lot. We really, really need a village council to focus, to prioritize this issue. And, we're willing to sit down and talk and, brainstorming and share ideas. We're willing to help, but we just need you guys to prioritize this issue as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Echo. Ed, you're up. You're on mute, Ed. Ed, you're still on mute.
Am I unmuted now?
You are good now.
Oh, thanks. It's Ed Fleischman, 518 East Saddle River Road. And again, with all the other residents have been raising their hands and raising the issues about the flooding on the East Saddle River, on East Saddle River Road and on the other side. To me, I'm a longtime resident, been in the town 27 years. Before that, the house that I live in was my grandparents' house. So as a child, I was here. They bought that house in 1963. So I've seen the floods as a child, and I can remember one time in 1976. And since I bought the house and moved in 1997, we've had major flood, 3 or 4 major floods where my house has gotten hit. And every time it floods now, every time it rains now, my wife is going and getting crazy because we're anxiety about what's going to happen to the house, and it's just no way to live. I look at the river, the footbridge. I know everyone talks about the footbridge, but that thing acts as a choking point for keeping water. And if it's not going to be fixed, maybe it can be taken down and that area widened out. There's areas across the stream from me that's protected wetlands. It can't be built on it. But are there areas along the river that can be, prepped to have some kind of overflow, so water can, create overflow ponds and try to reduce some of the pressure that's hitting all these houses along the river. I know it's an expensive proposition. I know there's environmental studies and all the other crap that goes along with government and their endeavors, but we really, we can talk, we'll all talk until we're blue in the face, but honestly, we need to get something done. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Ed, thank you very much. Aurora, you're up next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, hi, my name is Aurora Flanagan. I live at 512 East Saddle River Road. And I'm just going to piggyback off of what most of my neighbors said more eloquently than I could. We're just looking for support and a action with regards to the stream. Pardon my voice, I lost my voice. It has been quite a crazy couple of days, as I know the whole town has experienced, but us living on the river feels like a completely different viewpoint of the stress and strain and fear and lingering PTSD from what we've gone through. I've only been here now for 3.5 years, and I've experienced more stress and anguish with just being here on the river than I have in the 40 years before that of living anywhere else, including Manhattan. So this has been the most stressful place I've ever lived because of this. So I'm just standing in solidarity with my amazing neighbors who have been the only part of this entire experience that has made it worth staying. So I would love to see a change happen, because this is a place we all want to feel safe and raise our children. And if it wasn't for people like Christine and Ed, who at 4 o'clock in the morning last night was helping me move my snowblower out of the backyard, and it just wouldn't be the same kind of place. But it would be lovely to know that in an amazing town like Ridgewood, we could feel safe and secure and know that we had a home to come home to that wasn't going to be filled with water the next day. So at the end of the day, I've never loved a town more, and I can't imagine what it would be like to have security in my home when it starts to rain, which we do not have right now. So I hope that an action can be taken to remediate this massive issue that should, I think, be more focused on than things like a football field, because this is people's homes, livelihood, families, and they're all at stake. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Aurora. Toshi, you're up next. Toshi, you're on mute. Thank you.
I think I just unmuted it. Can you hear me?
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, I'm 524 East Saddle River Road. Obviously, I'm going to sound like a broken record with the same topic about flooding and asking something to be done. We've been here 8 years. Of course, we purchased this home 8 years back then. We was told it's once in 100 year kind of a thing. So either I'm like 400 years old or something else, and something's wrong here. So I also asked something to be done about this, because I do also like the town. We enjoy living here. My daughter loves the school and so forth, and it's just a shame that this cannot be fixed.
Thank you, Toshi. Megan, you're up.
Hi, I'm Megan Kukulka, and like many of the previous people who spoke before, I also live on East Saddle River Road, 500 East Saddle River Road. I just wanted to give the perspective as a kid who grew up on East Saddle River Road and has faced a number of flooding incidents in their past. Growing up, I had many instances where I was carried out of my home due to the over flooding. In addition, I am a current college student and my parents are older, and I am concerned that one day I might be at school and something were to happen, whereas I am not able to get here immediately and help them. Whereas last night, I was able to, at 4:30 in the morning, scoop water from a bucket out of my basement after we had just redone the basement of our house. So I just want to provide that knowledge and hope I can provide some insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Luis, you're up next. You're on mute, Luis? Perfect.
Hello, my name is Luis Lopez. I'm a resident 494 East Saddle River Road, and I would like to piggyback on all the previous comments. My wife and I, we love the town. Our daughters love the schools. It's been amazing in all respects, with the exception of flooding, which has been very stressful. And anyone can consult the records of the water gauge this year. This is something that's happening more and more frequently. The gauge has gone up here on East Saddle River at least 4 times above what can be considered the riverbank. There's a lot of information and a lot of experience from residents that have been here for a long time. I think if we get together and we start creating a very concrete list of steps that can move us forward, I think this is a problem that we could solve. That is, there are things that could be done to improve the situation for all of us. That's my invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm the
If you could speak into the microphone.
Hi, this is Nargis Maz. I'm in 700 Harvard Road. My neighbor actually just called, Echo. They got flood last night, and I'm living here for 8 years. I have the same issue with the flooding. At the beginning, it was like when hurricane came, okay, we expected to get the flood, but now every single week the river comes up. The way that comes by our door, it's by luck even getting in or not. And we wanted to go to vacation 3 weeks ago. The water was so high, we didn't know, should I leave the house and go? Should I cancel the vacation, the whole plan, and stay for the flood? So it's such a stressful things. I don't know anything. Even I'm sure all our neighbors are here to help. We're not telling that you fix it for us. We just want you to do something and give us opportunity. We're going to help. We're going to do whatever we can. We love this neighborhood. We love everything about Ridgewood. But this is really stressful, and we really appreciate if you can help us and give us some guide. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Andrew Pisano, 687 Howard Road. My neighbors have spoken previously about the flooding, and I'm just here as well. Concerned citizen. I have a 4-year-old. I have a 1.5-year-old. We came here for the schools, and we came here for Ridgewood itself, and the flooding, as someone had mentioned previously, wasn't anticipated. 100-year flood is what we were told, the same as a resident had said previously. So I guess what's concerning for me is something's changed. I feel like there's a reason why this is happening. It's happening more frequently, not so much for a storm, right? It's happening for what seems to be like everyday rain. A normal day outside raining, and I have to look on my second floor, and I have to wonder if the water is going to come up to my neighbors, which at that point would then come up to my house. So it seems like a regular thing, but this rain has been detrimental to everyone's lives that live in this area. So what's changed? What's changed? Why is this happening? And what is being done to fix it? I think we're all at this point looking for action items. We want to understand the cause and then effect, and what's being done proactively to resolve the issue. Because it's not just a night where 2 o'clock in the morning we're impacted, but it's also property value, and that is a significant factor. Because at some point it won't be a 100-year flood; it'll be an everyday thing, and then someone's trying to sell their home, but they can't because it comes up as a flood zone, and it becomes obviously a property issue. So thank you for your time, and we hope for a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment. Keith?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. The beginning of my report tonight has everything to do with flooding. First, I want to express my sorrow for everyone in the village whose property has been susceptible to flooding. I come from a municipality where we frequently flood. In my experience, I've had up to 250 houses flood during certain events like Irene and like Ida, and I can very much empathize with what everyone is going through. I have never seen in the course of my career 3 flood events happen with such frequency as we've experienced here since the last week in September, then again on December 17th and 18th, and then over the last 48 hours. What I can tell you, and I understand and appreciate the fact that the residents of East Saddle River Road, and for that matter, many of the residents who I've been in touch with today and leading into the storm yesterday along the Hohokus Brook, is that it was quickly apparent to me in September that we needed to engage the services and the assistance of the United States Army Corps of Engineers. I am not going to sit here tonight and patronize anyone by telling them that there is a local solution to the issues that you've faced over the past few months, because except for some limited opportunities that the DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, which is a New Jersey state agency, will allow us to go in and do some desnagging and desilting as a municipality. That is really the limitation of jurisdiction that we would have to do anything substantial along the Saddle River or the Hohokus Brook. The reality is that this is going to take federal and state intervention to make some sort of permanent and tangible change. We've engaged with the Army Corps of Engineers. Within 10 days after the September event, Superintendent Mark Schwartz from the Ridgewood Public Schools and I had been in touch with the Army Corps, and we had engaged the support and assistance of Congressman Josh Gottheimer. To the Congressman's office's credit, within 2 weeks, we were able to open up a dialogue with the Army Corps. Just last week, on January 3rd, Chris Rudishauser, Superintendent Schwartz, and Athletic Director Cook from the high school were able to meet on the ground here with a team of 7 or 8 people from the Army Corps to discuss both the Saddle River and the Hohokus Brook. We toured those facilities. We looked at overhead maps of those facilities. We talked about the homes that are affected. And the first steps in the process of being able to engage the Army Corps is to send a letter requesting such engagement, which is actually drafted on my computer. I wrote it pretty late last night while we were here monitoring the storm before we went out to assess what was happening throughout the village. In addition to that, they've asked us to share photo documentation and any tangible information that engineering has on file with regard to past storms. They've set up a photo dump through Google Docs that we've already started to contribute to that, because the Army Corps is first going to go into a data collection process, and we've already undertaken that. And finally, what is really needed is for the Army Corps to solicit what's called repetitive loss data, which shows the history of insurance claims on residential homes throughout the village with the Army Corps. Believe it or not, it's more of a challenge than you would think for one government agency at the federal level to share information with another federal agency, but the Army Corps is in the process of receiving that repetitive loss data so that they can actually see and geocode into their system the actual houses that have filed flood insurance claims due to repetitive flooding in Ridgewood. So those are the tangible items that we've undertaken since we met with them on last Wednesday. I can pledge to you that that letter will be in the hands of the Army Corps by the end of this week. And in the meantime, I've asked Chris Rudishauser to open up dialogue with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection about the possibility of undertaking a desnagging and desilting program along both water bodies. I will say that that is going to be budget contingent, and that is something that the council is going to have to consider at the time we're preparing the capital budget for 2024. But I will caution folks, desnagging is good. When you can go into the water bodies and take out large trees, debris, things that are blocking or impeding the water from flowing as quickly as it can during a storm, that's a tangible thing. Desilting is not as productive because one heavy rainstorm and all of the silt from upstream comes and redeposits itself here in the village. So I just want to caution people about those initiatives. I will tell you unilaterally, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection will not allow us to dredge either water body. So that I just want to be clear about. I also want to address, and I've been here 6 months, I think to the day, right, Heather? And I do take it a little personally when the assertion is made that anyone on this dais, myself included, is more concerned about ball fields than people. I've been doing this for 25 years. I will never put ball fields ahead of people. Okay, people's homes, it's where they live. It's where they raise their family. It's where they eat dinner, and it's where they sleep. If that's not the most precious thing that we need to protect, I don't know what is. And as the village manager, I will tell you that I'll protect a home before I protect a football field every single day. Now, at the same time, we have assets. The Board of Education has the asset of 2 turf fields. The village has an asset of 1 turf field and a natural grass field behind this building, in addition to the asset of the building we're currently sitting in now. We're in a high water event like we had on December 17th and 18th, we can lose the first floor of this building. We have an obligation on behalf of all taxpayers in Ridgewood to protect those assets. I cannot, nor can the folks sitting to my right, control what the news media covers. It broke my heart to see Ridgewood labeled back in December with another flood as the town that loses their high school football field in every flood. But just because the media is focused on sensationalizing that bubble in the middle of Stadium Field does not mean that that's the top priority of the people who are serving you in this village. When it comes to the Kingsbridge, the bridge along Kingsbridge, this council had made a commitment a number of months ago to invest in the capital budget to repair. The decision was made to repair. Replace was taken off the table. The bridge is the part of the 2024 capital budget. However, now I'm starting to hear from the residents of East Saddle River Road that there may be concerns that that's exacerbating flooding. And I do think that that's a discussion that we're going to have, and we're going to have it quickly because we'll be talking about capital expenditures within the next 60 days. So I think we need to sort of revisit that and reevaluate that, and I have a few emails from the residents of East Saddle River Road about the benefits versus the detriments of that bridge, and we're going to have that discussion. With regard to a meeting with the residents, I think I offered Christine in an email to go out there and visit those residents who were primarily on hybrid, participating in the public comment period tonight. I would like to go out there and see firsthand so that I can be an ambassador to the Army Corps of Engineers and the DEP as to what's actually happening in real time during these storm events. And I extend that to the residents of Howard as well. To have a resident meeting now, a lot of what I've said tonight would simply be repeated. But what I do want to encourage residents to look forward to is that as we engage the Army Corps of Engineers and they do their fact-finding and their data collection, they will have a forum where the public will participate and they will talk about tangible solutions that will be allowable. We all have ideas about how to correct flooding, and that's admirable. But you have to remember that the DEP and the Army Corps are going to concern themselves with what happens upstream and what happens downstream in every other municipality in which these water bodies flow through. So we may think that there's a great solution to something in Ridgewood, but at the same time, it may exacerbate flooding in Glen Rock. And that's something that we have to have a conversation about, because the DEP and the Army Corps are going to be very, very hypersensitive to those specific issues. And I'll even point out that when Councilwoman Winograd held a meeting, first in April for my arrival, and then we subsequently had a Zoom meeting about the East Ridgewood Avenue Bridge that the county is slated to reconstruct, our goal was to try to widen the underpass or the culvert underneath that bridge so that it allowed for more water capacity to travel through it during a high water event. And we were pretty much shut down on that Zoom meeting by the Department of Environmental Protection about widening the underflow of that bridge, because they were concerned about how that additional water at that rate would affect people downstream. So I just use that as an example as to the regulations that the DEP and the Army Corps are going to have when we're seeking a permanent solution to this problem. So again, the invitation is extended. I would love to go out there. I'd love to walk. I was walking East Saddle River Road today, passing out flyers, encouraging people to take advantage of our additional solid waste collection in light of people having items that they need to discard because of the flooding. But I'd love to walk through people's backyards and hear their stories and understand what's happening out there, so that as we do continue to meet with the Army Corps of Engineers, we'll be able to convey that information properly. In other news, I just want to also thank Dylan Hansen and his team in our IT department for the successful launch of the village's new website. Any residents who have any input or thoughts about how we can improve the website from its current state by adding additional information that would be user helpful, we are all ears in that regard. And I do want to point out that we took what would have normally been a 9-month process to rebuild and launch a municipal website, and we consolidated it into 3 months. So we will continue to make improvements, we'll continue to make some tweaks, but I think just on speed alone, the website has been a great benefit, and we've gotten a tremendous amount of positive feedback for that. I just want to announce and let the council know that I have been elected chair of the Central Dispatch Management Committee for 2024. This is a board that, along with representatives from the Borough of Glen Rock, manage the central dispatching operation over in the basement of the Pease Library. So I will take on that responsibility. However, Mayor, it is unpaid, so I just want to make that point. We've sent a letter to the Department of Transportation regarding requesting $100,000 in funding to rehab the bus shelter in the downtown. We're waiting to hear back, and I want to thank Councilwoman Winograd again for facilitating a meeting with Assemblyman DePhillips in an effort to try to secure those funds from the state DOT. Tomorrow, we will have a pre-construction meeting at the Habernickel Barn. We're looking forward to trying to get that project underway and completed this winter. We are onboarding 3 new police officers. I want to thank Chief Lyons and the Detective Bureau down in the police department for working to find 3 exceptionally qualified candidates. We anticipate that they will start the police academy sometime this spring. We are in the process of discussing the intersection of Oak and Glen. We had a meeting with the police department, engineering, Councilwoman Reynolds, who I understand is under the weather tonight, to talk about some tangible changes to that intersection. I want to thank the police department for sharing the data that they have collected, and we are going to modify some of the lights in and around that intersection, including down at Glen and Maple, in order to try to take some of the pressure off that intersection where we've had some issues. We had our kickoff meeting with Conley and Hickey last week regarding the pedestrian tunnel design project. This is under the train station in the downtown. We're looking forward to sometime in late summer having concept plans to share with the council and with the public for feedback as we move into that project, which will likely be constructed in 2025. On behalf of our recycling department, and I know Sean is with us tonight, the Green Guide for 2024, which is all things recycling here in the village, has been delivered to residential homes. We ask folks to look that over and just fully understand the recycling schedule here in the village. Our calendar, our village calendar, has been sent to the printer. At this point, we are at the mercy of the United States Post Office as to when it will be delivered, but we anticipate it will be by the end of next week. We encourage residents to flip their calendar over from December to January because January 2024 is included in the 2023 calendar that you received last year. I want to congratulate Ridgewood High School basketball player Johnny Jackson on scoring over 1,000 points during his high school career. Followed that game on social media, and we want to congratulate Johnny and his family on that tremendous accomplishment. The village is continuing to sell parking permits for this calendar year downstairs in the lobby of Village Hall. Please remember to bring your driver's license, copy of your registration, for the vehicles for which you wish to purchase the permit. We cannot issue those permits without those documents. Christmas tree pickup Tuesday on the east side and Thursday on the west side from January 2nd to January 25th. Wreaths and garland will be collected as part of solid waste. Please no plastic bags. You may also drop off your Christmas tree if you choose to do so in the section of the Graydon Pool parking lot designated for Christmas trees. The Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce will kick off Restaurant Week on Sunday, January 14th through Thursday, January 18th, and then again on January 21st through the 25th. It's a great way to enjoy a delicious meal with a reduced price, all while supporting our local Ridgewood businesses. The Village of Ridgewood and all village offices will be closed this Monday, January 15th, in observance of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, and the recycling center will also be closed that day. There will be no curbside bulk pickup refuse this week. Reminder about snow removal. All sidewalks in residential districts, snow must be removed within 24 hours of the snow falling. We also want to encourage residents not to throw snow back into the streets. That's a reminder that was asked of me by Mike Junta, our street supervisor, who, by the way, all of our plowing operators did a tremendous job last week with snow removal. I want to thank them and commend them for their efforts. Also want to remind residents on behalf of the Ridgewood Police Department that there is no overnight parking on any village roadway during a snow event. Reminder of garbage pickup during snow and ice events. If it is snowing when you leave your home in the morning, or if it is icy, please leave your garbage cans at the end of your driveway until you have a clear path to them. We appreciate your cooperation in keeping our sanitation employees safe. And finally, upcoming village council meetings. January 17th is a public meeting. January 31st is a work session. February 7th is a work session. February 14th is a public meeting. February 28th is a work session. All begin at 7:30. And by next week, we should have confirmed our council budget meeting schedules for later this winter into the spring. So we'll be announcing them as soon as they are solidified. And that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. I'd like to take a moment to just say, on behalf of this entire council, that for those of you who experienced horrible flooding, we can't begin to empathize with the nightmare that you're going through repeatedly. To go through it once is impossibly difficult. To go through it multiple times is unfathomable. And we wish we could do more. This morning, Deputy Mayor Pam Perrin and I went around to all the flood-prone neighborhoods. We spoke with many of your neighbors, those that we knew of who had contacted the village to let us know that they needed help. And we checked on them this morning. We were by the riverbanks, seeing what had been done. There are no words. Know that we think of you during these incredibly difficult times. That being said, Andrew, you said something about 100-year floods. Obviously, the problem is that 100-year floods are coming almost monthly. And that is beyond our scope or ability to control or impact. As Keith said, one of the problems, several people mentioned, let's get together and see what we can do. But for those things that Keith talked about, desnagging and desilting, the DEP does not allow us to do anything at all, because of what he said, that any impact that we have to keep the rivers from flooding only increases the impact to our neighbors downstream, which is why I'm so proud to begin with that back in April, when Siobhan Winograd was on the council barely 100 days, she gathered every public official she could at every level of government. There were 25 people, all in all, to discuss what could possibly be done. As Keith said, we pretty much got shut down. By the same token, I have to thank Keith, because he, after the most, not the most recent flood, the flood back in September, he reached out to the Army Corps. There is no, as he said, there is no local solution to this. It just doesn't exist. We need the Army Corps of Engineers, and we need them working with the DEP to not only help us devise a solution and fund it, but to allow us to do it. Because right now, even if there is a solution, we are precluded from doing it. I do want to take a moment to comment that there have been a couple of comments, one in particular, about the concern for the fields and the lack of concern for residents. Nothing could be further from the truth. We look at the fields because we own them. And by the way, if you've noticed, there's nothing we can do about them either. Nothing. All we can do is try and fix them in the same way that you fix your homes, but the damage is far more personal in your homes. As Keith said, it's where you sleep, it's where your children sleep. There are no solutions at this time, but I commend Keith for attempting to bring those who have the ability to bring solutions to the table. I want to take a moment to thank the staff who worked practically all night to help residents, to protect this building. Our staff is, I can't even begin to tell you the dedication that they have. Some of them are residents, some of them aren't. But they care about this. They are protecting our homestead. And so I just want everyone to know that we will do whatever can be done. And this does not mean that because we haven't found anything so far that we're going to stop looking, we're going to stop trying. We are always available to talk to everyone, to see if there's something that can be suggested. But again, our hands are largely tied. And so with that, unless someone else has any comments in response to public comment?
I do.
Go ahead.
Green Ridgewood has been looking at flooding for years. And ironically, Green Ridgewood was going to make a proposal to our engineering department and to our village manager this week, but because of flooding, we couldn't get in the building and couldn't meet. So,
I said the irony.
yeah, that's the irony of it. Green Ridgewood has a subcommittee called the Resiliency Committee, and they've done a lot of research and have several suggestions to make to the village administration. And when we can meet, they will make those proposals. Green Ridgewood is meeting tomorrow night in the senior lounge on the first floor of this building. Everything we do there is open to the public. You are welcome to join us. I would also point out, unfortunately, we already desnagged and desilted both rivers this year, within the last 12 months. And you can see that that's not the silver bullet we'd like it to be. Also, the fire department has pumping equipment. If you are flooded, you can give them a call and they can come help you get dried out. The state does provide a program for relief. If you have been repeatedly flooded and made repeated insurance claims, there is a Blue Acres program. Google it. See what New Jersey offers. Our council passed a flood acquisition plan in 2021, whereby the village can purchase your home for fair market value and knock it down so that when the floodwaters come, they will seep into the earth and absorb some amount of that water and avoid property damage and mitigate flooding downstream. If you are at all interested in selling your home, give me a call. We can talk about it. I make no promises. We have not executed the flood acquisition plan, but we are eligible to do so. So give that some thought. Let's see, what else did I want to say? With regard to the master plan and scenic corridors, I am forwarding Denise Lima's email to our village planner and to see what can be done. There is a subcommittee of the planning board that meets on a periodic basis to track what things we have accomplished that are recommended in the master plan, and it's really pretty remarkable what we have accomplished. So some things are bigger lifts than others, and more time-consuming and more expensive. And I think that's all I have in response to public comment. But we are not inattentive to your problems due to flooding.
I can, so I just want to echo some of the comments made in sending my regards and certainly, you know, my best wishes to those folks that were affected by the flooding. I know it must be awful, and I wish that it wasn't happening. You know, now that we've been here about a year, I kind of share a lot of what's being set up here, in that literally within getting sworn in, the first thing I heard from my neighbors was, hey, can we lift the football field? Or hey, can we dredge Saddle River? Can we do all these things? Everybody had a great idea, and I thought they were all great ideas, and I think some of them still are. And I, too, came to the very sudden realization that, unfortunately, the way that we are set up in the state of New Jersey is, as a local municipality, we just don't have a lot of power over navigable waters. If you think about it, it makes sense in that you wouldn't want a town upstream from us changing the way that water is diverted that would make flooding in Ridgewood even worse. So it's done at the state level. I think what we're doing, though, is right, and Keith, thank you. I think what we can do for our residents is amplify their concerns so that entities like the Corps of Engineers, entities like the DEP, entities like our congressman can hear our concerns and raise those to the proper place where we can actually get some solutions. I don't think any town and any place in New Jersey or in this country has a solution yet for what we're seeing in terms of climate change. So we're all going through this together. I understand that for the residents that are bearing the burden, this is a very little comfort, but it is where we are, and I can assure you that everyone up here, everyone in the village is united in ensuring that we do everything we can to help those folks that are most affected by the waterways. With that, I do also want to echo some of the comments, thanking Keith and your entire staff. I thought the reaction by our village employees The transparency, all the information that was being sent out was really fantastic. It's what good government looks like. It's boring sometimes, but that's a good thing. And I want to thank you and everyone that was here late nights, did all the work on the front end, try to minimize as much as possible the damage that we can't stop, but hopefully can at least mitigate slightly, as these events become more and more common.
Oh, I forgot to say, if you want to know what an overworked employee looks like, Keith is the face of haggard flood working. And another group that we really need to recognize, in addition to all our employees, is the special operations volunteers. They're not paid, and they work through the night. It's 20 to 30 people who just volunteer their time to keep us safe. They're the ones who are closing off the streets and crowd control during our 4th of July parade and the car show, and they're all volunteers. And not only are they volunteers, they worked through the night last night, and then at 6 a.m., they went off to their day jobs. So these people are really putting out for us, and it's pretty incredible that we benefit from all their work. And I just wanted to thank them.
Through you, Mayor, I didn't know I looked that bad, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, you look really
I look bad.
Christina.
No, but I wanted to focus my report, especially in light of the public comments, on speaking to the folks who were affected at their residence last night. But I would be remiss if I didn't thank Jeremy Kleiman, all of our directors, our police department, our fire department, our signal division, our streets division. They came off a significant snowstorm, which, by the way, as I mentioned earlier, I think we did a pretty good job of clearing the snow during the snow event. But then they rolled right into flood preparation. And that flood preparation not only includes preparing this building, the lower level of this building, which Signal did a tremendous job, but our streets division was out there trying to clear out catch basins from snow, leftover leaves, in order to try to maximize the amount of drainage that would happen when the rain started to fall. And that's a benefit to those residents and businesses in the community that were trying to get that water off of the streets and out of harm's way. I had the police radio with me all night last night through this morning. We were out there. I was on East Saddle River Road just after midnight last night with the police department. And I must tell you that the calls for service were nonstop throughout the evening. And as the deputy mayor mentioned, I want to thank Chief Judge and his crew. They've already started to pump out some people's residents. If that support is still needed, please feel free to contact the fire department. All of the infrastructure needed to be moved out of the recycling center. That will reopen tomorrow, Sean, at regular time. So I want to thank you and your team down there. And I would be remiss also if I didn't announce that we will have additional emergency flood trash collection both tomorrow morning and Friday morning. We put that out on social media. We put it out on the website. We also hand-delivered flyers today to areas where we knew those residents were affected substantially by flooding, and Sean's crews will be out tomorrow and Friday collecting so we can get that wet debris off the street and out of the residents' view. So, thank you.
Sure. So I want to say a couple things. First of all, it's absolutely heartbreaking to hear from the homeowners, and I am very grateful that we didn't have a loss of life from anybody in the neighborhood or one of our first responders. It was very nerve-wracking watching the weather report, and I'm just grateful that our community is whole. I also don't, as the fields rep, I've met with most of the residents who I've met with surround the fields, and I will say that for the callers that called in, the psychological effect of this is traumatic. Several of the residents near the high school field, their kids have PTSD from it, so I ache for all of you, and I feel for you. I'm very happy and pleased with the response that the village does, but I know that's meaningless because you really suffered all night, and I feel for you. I did want to add a couple things from public comment. One, because we have so many new people calling in. By law, all 5 of us can't have a private meeting unless we disclose that to the whole public. But I know this full council in other issues would welcome coming over and having what we call splinter meetings. We did that with the bridge. I'm a very tactical, firsthand person. So if anybody wants us to come over and meet with neighbors, we can. We can only come 2 at a time. And that's just a transparency law because it would be considered a secret meeting if we all showed up at the same time. I don't want to be redundant to a lot of what people said, but I did want to say a couple things. There are things that aren't having a major impact that we are doing. We are tightening our zoning laws. This council's deeply committed to that. The less impervious land we have, we are deeply committed to replanting trees. We would love to inspire neighbors to plant their own trees. Trees help with the flooding as well. And there's many little things that we can do. Sadly, since I put that meeting together in April, I'm a problem solver. I understand that it's mostly multifaceted. The restrictions on us with our downstream neighbors are significant. We have partnered with Glen Rock. If there's another municipality you'd like us to meet with, I would love to be a part of that. Outside of a good job done by all, I really want to say I ache for how you feel. I'm very sorry for your personal loss. And if you need anything from us, we're not just council members, we're neighbors. So sincerely reach out to us, let us know. If you want us to see anything firsthand, we are totally available for that. I also wanted to say, with respect to public comment, there were a couple other things. The town garage, there's been no public discussion of it because we don't own it. It's not our asset yet. So once we can talk about that, if it's still privately held, we will. And with respect to the website, which I'll include in my report, websites are constantly evolving. They're dynamic, so they're not static. So when we released it on the 1st, there's been many revisions. So if anybody sees anything that they'd like to see improved, please let us know. But I do want to highlight that one thing that Evan and I ran on was information being available, and I do think things like website and social media made us more prepared for this storm, and I'm very grateful to everybody on this council who leveraged it and utilized it, because in situations where we have rapidly moving weather, the best thing we can do is hope that we have the infrastructure to communicate. So again, my sincere sorrow for everything that you guys lost. If you need anything from me as a council member or a neighbor or from anybody, we're here for you. And just reach out to us, and if you need a splinter meeting, we're available for that as well.
Thanks, everyone, and let's move on to our council reports. Evan? Oh, excuse me?
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was the council reports.
No.
Actually not.
Actually, no.
Those were responses to public comment.
With that said, though, my council, that was what I was largely going to cover, so other than wishing everybody a Happy New Year, congratulating my fellow members on a good first year, I covered everything I had in my comments so far.
Good. Siobhan?
Sorry, Evan. I'll go quickly. Okay, so obviously the website is live. I want to seriously thank the communications committee who made this happen, Dylan, and highlight that it's wonderful on speed alone, but obviously we're looking for input on it's ever evolving, so please reach out to any of us or Dylan Hanson and let us know. I wanted to thank Assemblyman Christopher DePhillips and just let the full council know that we are in complete agreement that our bus station is in need of love and attention, and we are desperately trying to find ways to fund it. And I want to thank Keith for reaching out, because I think we have the perfect solution to preserve its not historical declarations, but its history here, and renovate it. And then, even though it's going to take a little bit longer, I want to thank our intern, Cole, who is here tonight, who goes to my alma mater, Lafayette College, and let everybody know that Cole has been working on the master library application, amongst other things, in the Parks Department. And this is wonderful, one, because he's very smart, very hardworking. It's a lovely opportunity for him to work with Nancy, and his efforts will help our sports community balance the efficiencies of the field. And he has knowledge of this. He is a soccer player at Lafayette College, and we are very grateful to Cole. And if anybody is watching this and has a college kid who is sitting idle, we do have an internship program here. We don't pay anything, but we offer a positive experience. And thank you for being here. And I know the full council is very grateful for your efforts. I wanted to thank all the volunteers who came out. We had a unique opportunity that 500 daffodil bulbs were given to us, and daffodil bulbs need to be in the ground before it freezes. And I want to thank everybody who came out and planted them, and they're going to be between the taxi cab station and the stairway on the train station, and they're just going to look beautiful. If anyone has any other interest in participating in beautifying downtown or any of our parks, we're always available for that. Last night, we had our shade tree meeting, and we discussed a myriad of issues. One is that the changes to the ordinance are coming. Matt is going to put together a proposal, and probably in February-ish, we'll be seeing that back here at the council. And I am thrilled to announce that Shade Tree has declared their second area of Adopt a Sapling to be in the Somerville area. And we're really excited about this because it's very sustainable, both economically and with the saplings environmentally. And we are looking for the full council this year to come help us dig holes. I want to remind you that the only one who helped last spring was Matt Rogers. And we're hoping, our goal is to get 50 saplings in the ground. The date is TBD, but we're thinking it's going to be October 19th, and more information will be forthcoming. Additionally, Access and CPAC is so thrilled to announce that we're having our third sensory-free dinner, which is to support the special needs population and in a safe, inclusive area uptown. And it's going to be held at the Pancake Brasseria on January 23rd. Mayor Paul will be attending, and I'm very grateful because I am running away on vacation, so he will be there. And then the last thing I want to mention is that this coming weekend is Martin Luther King weekend. As a past member of the MLK committee, I'm pleased to announce that they've released a serious lineup of events running from Friday to Monday. I would encourage everybody to participate in one, if not all of them. We did just get the flyer today, so we will be posting it on social media. But I want to wish everybody a happy long weekend, and sorry if I was so long.
Thanks, Siobhan. Pam?
Yes. The Central Business District Advisory Committee met in December, and we discussed recommendations for outdoor entertainment going into the future downtown. And lighting in the Central Business District was also discussed, and we also discussed blade signs, which are those signs that, well, you often see them as pub signs. They're perpendicular to the facade of the building. And I know that internally, the administration has been considering them as well. We also reviewed which stores have left, closed, and what new tenants are coming in. CBDAC will be meeting tomorrow morning via Zoom. If you would like to join us, just give me a call and I can forward the link to you. As I mentioned, Green Ridgewood will be meeting tomorrow evening in the Senior Lounge at 7:30, and we discuss myriad environmental issues that affect our town. The Open Space Committee will be meeting next Thursday in the stable at 7 o'clock, and the purpose of the Open Space Committee is to acquire more property for open space, parks, fields, that sort of thing. So if you would like to join that, that is also open to, we welcome members of the public. And I just hope everybody had happy holidays, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Pam. And I know that the hour grows late, but there are two items that I have to discuss. One is that the Upper Ridgewood Community Church held its last service this past Sunday, and I was honored to be invited to attend. This is a lovely church that has been in a West Side community for over 100 years. And they will no longer be serving our community. And so we were all a little sad and wistful that day. And then You know, we have so much bad news that comes across our plate. I'm going to share some good news. There's a former resident of Ridgewood who is still a vibrant member of our community. He's very involved. He's a foundational member of Mount Carmel Church, and he serves that church on an almost daily basis. Jim Roth was diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma 17 years ago. It is what's known as an indolent form of cancer that grows slowly, but it is doggedly persistent. And he has, the average life expectancy is about 3 years. He has been through 7 remissions, the most recent of which was yesterday. And he just got his scans back after an incredibly difficult stem cell transplant that has really been very hard on he and his family. And they just got the news that he is in complete remission. Again, the man has 9 lives. We are overjoyed, and this was not something that anyone expected. And it was such good news that because he remains a member of our community, I just wanted to share that with everyone. For all the bad news we get, there is some good news. And with that, we will now begin our council agenda. Keith.
Thank you, Mayor. For our Ridgewood water requests, I'd like to invite up Director Calby and Sean Hamlin from Sanitation and Recycling. Rich, I'll turn over items A, 1 through 4 to you, and then we'll jump to Sean's part of the agenda.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year and welcome,
you.
gentlemen. Thanks for being here.
Happy 2024. Another year closer to completing our PFAS master plan, which is good news.
And Rich, forgive me.
Sure.
There was something that was on my list that was very important, and I couldn't remember what it was, and of course, Pam reminded me. This is also a milestone. American Legion, the Ridgewood American Legion Post, long ago began a project to to put a Gold Star monument here in Van Nest Park. And after a long and diligent effort, it was approved by this council, and just last week they signed a contract to have it constructed and fabricated, and they have attained all of the funding that they needed, which has been, again, just a credit to everything that they've done. And they fully expect that it will be completed by Gold Star Family Day, which I believe is the last Sunday in September.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we are all very proud of them, and we are all looking forward to that dedication. Pam, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, that's 100 years after our World War I memorial was built. And it'll be right next to the World War I memorial.
And I could not remember what this thing was. I'm saying I knew I had one more thing. But anyway, forgive me, gentlemen, and now we will again begin.
So with your permission, if I could add one point of information and then make a request before
By all
I go
means.
out the water items. Talking about the flooding issue, one of the things Ridgewood Water does is track precipitation. It's vital to tracking our revenue each year, how our wells are doing, how the aquifer is doing. Just for your information, looking up New Jersey climatology records that have been kept since 1895, 2023 wasn't the largest year on record, but the month of December was the largest year on record since records have been kept. Total of 8.2 inches of rainfall. So unprecedented in this area, in this region. So.
And then a snowfall the first week of January, and then what presented last night. It was a recipe for difficulties, for challenges.
Thanks for putting that in perspective, Rich, because it really does frame the issue for us.
You're welcome. Thank you. And if I may ask if we could jump to item 8C6, because Sean gets up very early in the morning and has a very busy day tomorrow. So I'd like to get him out of here if everybody is okay with that.
We would be very happy to do that.
Thank you. So as Sean's handing those out, we're both here tonight to discuss a dire situation with the solid waste and recycling fleet. Unfortunately, a handful of our trucks went down permanently middle of 23, and on top of that, more recently, 4 to 5 trucks have gone down in a state of repair and are not roadworthy at this moment. So Sean's here tonight to summarize that and discuss a quick solution, not the permanent solution, but something that is necessary for us to continue to service the community in the interim until we get some new trucks on the road.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you guys for having me. I'm going to try and be quick, but I also don't want to dilute the severity of what we're going through right now. So on the first page, you'll see I've highlighted some of the, that this is the Packer trucks are on the big part of the paper. And if you look on the right column, you see 5 trucks we're selling on Gov Deals, and another 5 trucks are disabled. So right now, for the last 4 weeks, we've been running, we usually send out 6 sanitation trucks and 4 recycling trucks. We've been running on 4 sanitation trucks and 3 recycling trucks, which has caused a lot of problems. We've been picking up sanitation routes with pickup trucks, and it's starting to take a toll on the crew because it's harder to do that way. Then they put the garbage on the trucks, and then they drive it to another truck, and they dump the pickup truck, and then they drive back to their route and start again. It's also costing us overtime because on the recycling routes, what suffered is the apartments. I don't know if any of you have gotten complaints from the apartments that are in Ridgewood. They normally get picked up twice a week, and they get 2 for bottles and cans and 2 for cardboard. And we had to do it on Saturday, so we had to have 2 employees come in on Saturday because we weren't able to get to them during the week because we're down a truck. So I started looking, and I found a rental company. There's only 2 of them, and one of them had trucks. They have 2 trucks that they can rent us immediately out of Cleveland called Premier Trucks. So I'm proposing that we rent 2 trucks for at least 4 months. We do have some relief hopefully coming in the first quarter of the year. We purchased the truck with last year's budget. That still hasn't been delivered. It had a delivery date of December 11th, but everything is on back order right now. And we got a little bit more bad news. I scoured the earth to find trucks for us to purchase or lease, and there aren't any. The end of the year is a terrible time to look for trucks. So as soon as the new year turned over, all the trucking companies get their allotments for trucks that they can sell, and the company that we want to buy our 2 recycling trucks from, they got an allotment of 20 January 1st, and they've already sold 12. So we're in a position now where if we don't order these trucks now, then we wait until next year. And even if we order the trucks now, we don't see them probably until the fall at the earliest. So right now we're in a really serious situation here. So I did put down some options that Bob asked me to put together. If you turn to page 2, there is also one of the dentist trucks, the ones that look like the really pretty trucks that everybody loves with all the glass. There is one that's going to be coming available within the next month. If at all possible, I would love to jump on that truck, and whether or not we lease it or buy it, there's a bunch of different options. They did give me a lease quote, but it expired, so the price will probably go up on that.
Which one?
The dentist truck.
Dennis.
The one that's on truck type number 5.
Bottom one.
Oh, I see it.
So that lease number is probably going to go up. That quote we got in October.
That's your first choice?
So the first option one would be, the yellow would be what I think we really need. But I don't know that. I don't know how it'll affect our budget for this year. So you can go over them. I put the price of the rentals in there. That's the price for 1 year.
Sean,
If
this
we-
would be for the future capital of 2024, right?
So,
Do you have any carryover?
no.
Okay. You can tell, we owe you $1 million worth of garbage trucks. It's okay.
But there's one truck on order, correct?
There's one truck on order,
We're
plus
waiting
the mini garbage truck, which won't solve our problems, but it'll certainly help. The other issue is yard waste starts in April. We have no trucks for the yard waste collection.
So, okay, so I'm just going to ask capital questions. I really do, because I'm not saying this because you're here. When we think about capital and we think about the bridge, you know, roughly from carryover, like I always say, it's like the Hunger Games of capital. I think we do owe DPW about $1 million worth of trucks that's past due. We don't want anyone to be hurt. Would there, you know, from last year, do you need 2 trucks for this year?
So,
I mean, I know it's not budgeted.
at minimum, 2
Right.
trucks.
Is it still $1 million?
No, not for 2.
Okay. And is there anything we can do to get anything in sanitation that would be an EV credit, or are they just not powerful?
So that's where I think the rentals come in. If we can't get trucks, these 2 trucks, if we rent them for the year, and we decide we want to keep them because they are newer model trucks, we can use 25% of the rental cost towards the purchase of the truck for next year's
And so
budget.
Does the rental come out of operating instead of capital?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and that's, you were sure that it goes forward to future capital?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the balance.
The balance would,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, we're recommending the short-term rental so Sean's crew could get these trucks in, start to use them immediately, and get a feel for whether or not they're worth purchasing. You know,
So just like for tomorrow, yeah, we are committed to going out and helping the flood victims. It's going to be hard, though, because we only have 4 trucks. We did borrow some from other towns, but they sent us trucks that were in terrible condition and really not safe. One of the trucks we borrowed, I don't want to mention the town, but within a half an hour of working with it, one of the guys took a step out of to get out of the passenger side, and the whole step
So is this
collapsed.
Is it a brand new lease? Is it pristine? Like you?
The rentals, you mean?
Yeah.
So they're 22, 23 models. So yeah, they're fairly new.
How fast can you get them?
Once they get a PO, they ship the truck the next day. They have someone drive it out. It's coming from Cleveland, so it could be here the next day.
And how many we
I've
talking?
already talked to CFO Rooney about if this is approved at next week's council meeting, that we would do an offline check and try to get it expedited for Thursday of next week.
And how many are we talking about? 2?
2, yes. That would go a great deal. We're hoping to get back some of these disabled trucks that have been down for a while now. We know what the issues are with them. One of them had to go back because it was under warranty, and that's the problem with warranties, is they kind of put you to the back of the line. So our truck's been there for quite a while.
How soon do we expect the vehicles that are being serviced to be back online?
So one of them, we're hoping for a miracle and having it back this week. It's at the repair shop, but that's one of the trucks that the previous administration decided to buy a new truck and put an older body on it that was like 20 years old, and the hydraulic pump went on it, and they're having a hard time finding the pump. It's a 4-hour fix, but you have to have that particular pump. So
Because there were 5 trucks
Yeah.
that we're waiting for. So when might we reasonably expect any or all of them?
We had a company come down to look at 2 of them today, and they think they found the problem with one of them. But again, it's going to be, we're going to be at the mercy. We have to order the part for it. But the mechanics that we have couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. It was an electrical issue. And they came down and they plugged their computer in. They think they mapped out where the issue is. The other one, we can't even start it, so they're gonna have to tow it into the garage to get it up and take it apart. I don't know how long it's gonna take them to figure that one out. It was just weird how it happened. The guy started the truck and then it just turned off. Everything was going well. It was warming up and then it just turned off.
So of these 5 trucks, are we anticipating getting any of them back in January or February?
I'm hoping, there's a good chance that we get one back before the end of the week. But that'll put us with 2 spares. It's also, the biggest thing right now is we have trucks that need to be serviced, and we can't pull any trucks off the road to service them. They all have, engine lights on and codes on it, but we can't pull them off the road
So your
to
first,
even service them, to find out what's going on with them.
your first ask is type 5, the Dennis. What's the second one?
So that would be the first truck that becomes available. But the other issue is the reason why we need the Kenworth trucks that say dual steer is because we need those trucks as backups for the Mack trucks that we use for the fibrous pickup. Those are single man operated.
Mm-hmm.
And if they go down, then we have to use a different type of truck. And now instead of sending 2 employees out for fibers, we have to send 4.
And that's a straight out buy, that one. There's no
Those
rental.
would be, those are the ones that I was saying that we need to give them kind of a verbal. He said that he would hold 2 trucks for us if we gave them a verbal agreement that we were going to buy them. But like I said, he had 20 of them. He already sold 12 of them since January 1st.
So Mayor, I think we should sort of separate the discussions. I think Sean brought this document tonight to just sort of illustrate the urgency of where we
Yes.
are. The question before council tonight is the rentals.
Yes, absolutely.
As we get into our budget meetings, which kick off next week, department level budget meetings, and then we start talking about what capital is going to look like, that's when this document's going to resurrect itself. But I think, this issue was not created overnight. Some of these vehicles are aged. They're also used almost every single day of the week, and the wear and tear is significant. So, we certainly do need to put a capital plan together that replaces the fleet down at sanitation and recycling. But the stopgap measure, in order to continue to provide adequate service to the residents here in Ridgewood, is to engage with this rental company
Absolutely.
as a stopgap until we get our fleet back together, our existing fleet back together, and we plan for what the future fleet is going to look like.
So you need approval of leasing 2 vehicles.
Renting 2 vehicles, yeah.
Leasing, renting.
Yeah, leasing.
Right. And that's what we're here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any objection to that? You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
I'm sorry.
Go to sleep, Sean.
I'm sorry. I felt like you guys needed the whole story behind what's going on out there, and it's tough out there on those guys.
Well, we did want the whole story until we heard it.
Thank you,
Have a
Sean.
good night.
Thank you, Sean.
And Sean, thank you and your crew for helping out the residents who
Yeah,
were
you
affected
guys
by the
were,
flood.
yeah, please tell your entire crew that they have the entire village's thanks.
Thank you. Don't forward these guys, all right?
Okay, so we're going to go back to Ridgewood Waters portion of the agenda, and we'll turn it over to Director Calby.
Yes, and thank you for going out of order. So first item is 8A1. This is award of cooperative purchasing, purchase with information and programming. It's required for our SCADA system in Ridgewood Water. This will be, contract will be with PCS Pump and Process, Inc. They're contracted on the Passaic Valley Sewage Commission Cooperative Purchasing Contract, which the Village of Ridgewood is a member. It's for a not to exceed of $82,500. $52,500 of that total is for the Carr Linwood PFAS treatment facility upgrades. The SCADA program required to complete that project. The additional $30,000 is for miscellaneous SCADA work that's necessary throughout the Ridgewood water system. This need became a priority as we lost an employee who was our key SCADA person in '23. We have yet been able to fill that position with a qualified person. This will be funded from the Ridgewood Water capital budget.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Good.
Next item is 8A2. This is an award of contract for the construction of raw water mains as part of the PFAS master plan build-out. These raw water mains are part of the Prospect Treatment Facility in Glen Rock. They will connect 2 satellite wells to that facility so that the capacity of the facility will handle all the wells that have been designed for that plant. On December 13th, there were 17 bids received for this project. It's a record. We haven't seen that many in a long time. Mott McDonald was the engineer of record. They reviewed all the bids, determined that the lowest responsible bidder was Underground Utilities Corp. in the amount of $603,250.00. There was an apparent other lower bidder, but they withdrew their bid due to errors, and they're allowed to do that under the state statute. So we're recommending the award to the parent low bidder, Underground Utilities Corp. This will be funded out of the water capital budget as well. Any
We already
questions?
bonded for this, right?
Correct. This is being bonded and funded through New Jersey iBank.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Next one is 8A3. This is award of a second year of a contract that was awarded last year, a multi-year contract to SHI Mass Notification System. This is the Village and Ridgewood Water's Everbridge Reverse 911 notification system. I believe it was used recently with the storm. It's a not-to-exceed amount of $35,772.30. This is split between the Village and Ridgewood Water, funded both out of operating budget on both sides. There's plans this year to take this system, not only utilize it for contact to residents, but to build a database of all employees in the Village and Ridgewood Water and utilize it as a means of contacting them in the event of emergencies or closures like occurred here this morning.
Everybody good?
The last item is the rejection of a bid. I was back here in the December meeting recommending an award of a bid for our line stop and valve insertion services. Subsequent to that recommendation, we did a review with Mr. Rogers, found that the bid specifications that were put out on those bids were improper. They didn't include the words "or equivalent" for the methods and the equipment that we were specifying. So now we're recommending rejecting of those bids and going out for a rebid with the proper language in the bid. So in front of you is the proposal to reject the bids. If approved, we'd go out to bid after the next public meeting.
Thanks. Everybody good? Yes. Good. You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Calby. Moving on to parking. We have 2 ordinances tonight that are being recommended by the engineering department. The first is to clarify language in chapter 265-47 with regard to 15-minute parking spaces. Apparently there's been some confusion between violators and court staff with the current language in the code. This ordinance will specifically address 15-minute parking space use. There is a memorandum attached from Patrolman Torino to the village engineer, and then the draft of the ordinance is behind. Any objection?
I did not, I've read through this, and I did not quite understand the distinction between the current ordinance and the new ordinance. Could you?
I can pull you a copy of the current ordinance. I don't have it with me. So I can provide that for you tomorrow, Mayor.
Yeah, I read through it several times, and I just couldn't quite.
Yeah,
grasp.
we'll get you a copy.
If I may,
Heather?
the
Yeah.
addition just indicates that you have to pay the meter at a 50-minute space. You can't pay Park Mobile to do so. I think that's really what the change is.
Is that what Part B says?
Yes, that's what Part
Paragraph
B says. Yeah, it says you can only pay at the meter, and that there's no other way you can pay. And if they remain there beyond the time, they're going to get a summons. So I think that's what the difference is between the two.
And the issue was that the original ordinance was not clear on being able to pay Park Mobile?
That you cannot pay Park Mobile, and it wasn't clear that you couldn't.
It wasn't clear. Now I understand. Good, I'm all set.
Yeah, I see that now.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could I ask one question? Because
Sure.
ironically, my next door neighbor got a ticket for paying Park Mobile in the 15-minute meter. Is there going to be clearer signage? Because right now, I went in and walked the dog, the only place where it says coins are allowed is on the meter.
Right.
Are we adding any clarification under the Park Mobile?
I can talk to Rich Charlton and to the police department about doing that.
I'm sure it's a rarity that
We're
someone's-
sign heavy in
Right.
CBD,
Yeah,
but
no,
we can certainly talk that through.
Okay.
Okay.
Because right now, the only place is in the little red strip. Do you know at the top of the meters, the ones that still have, okay. The ones that have not been deadheaded yet, Paul?
The next one is, and it was spoken about at the public portion, the Reigning Court and Cottage Place parking regulations. So residents of Reigning Court contacted the village requesting no parking signs for the west and south side of the street to prevent high school students from parking there during school hours. Chris conducted a survey of the residents of that street in the nearby areas, attached as a sample copy of the letter that was sent out to the residents. They only received 4 responses. 3 of the residents were in favor. 1 felt it was not necessary. So that's the census on the Reigning Court piece. On Cottage Place, it was recently brought to the attention of the engineering department that the existing parking regulations for that section of Cottage Place north of Franklin Avenue is not currently workable. The current ordinance has a 3-hour time limit parking from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The time period between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. is not regulated. Field observations indicate that Central Business District employees are parking all day on the street there. So the proposed ordinance that's before you tonight would permit a 3-hour time limit parking from 7A to 9P, thereby preventing all-day parking on the street. So I know there were some concerns expressed about this. We would need the consensus of the council as to how we would want to move forward.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say, how many residents were there that we sent notices out to? Because 4 responses to me doesn't sound particularly like a lot.
Right. I can find out from Chris. I'll be honest with you, normally Chris and I would have had a meeting about this, but in light of the last 2 days, we didn't have our normal powwow.
Yeah.
So I can find that out for you tomorrow.
I mean, my feeling is that if there's not a strong feeling for the signs, that we shouldn't do it. And you say 3 out of 4, wanted the signs, but if there's, I've been on that street a bunch of times. There's probably at least 24 houses there. If the majority of people didn't bother to respond, I got to think they don't feel strongly about it either way.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, but I can get you an exact count.
With respect to Reigning Court, I tend to agree with Evan. It's a small street that doesn't seem like a response, and you do have the First Press issue. And, there's so many restrictions around the high school right now, it's impossible to park anywhere.
Yeah, but that street is a cut-through. This is how you avoid the light. And you speed when you cut through, and it's a curved street. If you add parking on both sides, it becomes that much more dangerous. And the time period for the restriction is 8 a.m. to 9:30 and 1 o'clock to 2:30. That's what we have on my street. It's annoying, but it does allow people to park during certain hours, particularly when Connections is having their meeting from 10 to 12:30. There's room for them. And
I think that's really the point is, and I was trying to remember what time they said they met.
Yeah.
So this doesn't seem to interfere with
Right.
Connections.
except for when they do a movie day, and then they do it 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, but maybe they can change their meeting time. I think it's safer and,
Well, I think the problem here is that this is a high school parking street.
That's
if I'm-
right.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And obviously, high school students will find the places where, as we all will, where they can park all day, and this prevents this, but still allows some parking during the course of the day. I don't have any problem with this. Everybody good?
I'm still interested to hear how many people actually, do we send it out to? I don't know, maybe, I'm not looking to make a big deal about this, but to me, I prefer not to have more regulation if it's not needed.
I think your point's well taken. I think the problem is that the vast majority of people just don't respond. And that's just the way it is. So I don't know that we can, we can try again.
Through you, Mayor, and, I admit when I didn't look through the whole packet because we were in flood preparation, but if you flip back behind the letter, Chris actually circled each of the lots that were sent letters. That's what the hand marks are.
oh, I was wondering what those were.
I didn't get past the memo, so.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So it's quite a few.
Yeah, well, the ones who are complaining seem to be on North Van Deen. Yeah, I see. Okay. And that it's a problem for those who are backing out of their driveways when there are parked cars. Look how tight that curve is, especially on the south and west side. And this is where we're adding, the north and east side, they already have restriction. But we're talking about the south and west side of the street.
Looks to me like 27 letters went out.
Yeah. Are those the letters that went out or people who responded?
No, that would be, well, actually, he just indicated in the memo that we only received 4 responses, and 3 of the residents were favorable. 1 said it was not necessary, and that they live on North Van Deen.
Uh-huh.
But the residents who
So out of
responded.
27, you received 4 response based on the memo.
Right, and the ones that the 3 that responded in favor of it were on Brandon, I gather. Again, the goal of this is to prevent high school students parking there all day.
That seems to be the concern, yes.
Yeah,
The top part, the cottage place is a separate issue.
It is an issue. It is an issue. Here.
Do we want to hold off introduction until we've, contacted those residents more thoroughly?
That's my feeling, is that if it's such a big deal, why did only 3 people complain? Out of the 20 or plus so that we sent letters out to?
Heather's shaking her head.
The 3 aren't the ones that only complained, it's just that the others did not feel one way or another, and they didn't respond to the letter. How do you get someone to respond? Do you have to go door to door and do a survey?
No, but that's my point, is that if people felt that strongly about, hey, this is a problem, like, I can tell you, I live on a pass-through street as well. And if somebody sent me a letter saying, hey, we think we're going to put in more stop signs or something else, I would go out of my way to respond to that because it annoys me every morning when I see somebody trying to beat the light by speeding down my block. I don't know what folks feel about it, but I have to assume that if folks didn't bother to respond, they don't
Right.
feel strongly either way. And if folks are somewhat not strongly either way, I prefer not to have more regulation.
Except for those people who are being affected by the high school park.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is if they felt strongly that they were being affected by high school kids parking on the street, they would have responded to the letter.
I understand, but you still have 3 who are concerned about it. And at times, they park right up to their driveways, because I know with the other streets, when we enacted all of these originally, it was because they were over parking over the driveways. And it was difficult for the homeowners to pull out.
Well, it seems like a separate issue. I would assume that's a ticket for blocking a driveway.
Well, they don't block it, they just are too
Go
far
close so you
over.
can't see.
Right.
And again, though, only 3 people wrote back saying they had a concern.
I'm with Evan. I don't want to go back to when I was a junior in high school and oppose the parking around the high school. I want to be clear that for West Siders who live under 2 miles, you are not eligible for the bus. So for kids who live on the west side, you either have to walk or get a ride, and we have made it very impossible for kids. When they get their license, we as adults should be encouraging them to drive and drive safely, and there's no streets left to park on. And the alternative is to pay $675 to privately park at First Press's parking lot. I think we need to hear more from the residents, and I think we need to wonder why allowing, kids who have no money, really they don't, not to park on a public street, creating a law because they parked improperly. That's been going on forever. I mean, when I went to Ridgewood High School, Heather knows this, she was at the meeting that I came, lost my composure and cried because I did not win. You could park on Brookside, you could park on Hanks, you could park on Gordon, you could park on Hermance, and everywhere. And the parking around the high school has been an issue. I mean, if the residents have concerns, I'd love to hear more of a response, but I'm with Evan that we can't go around, that's it. Traffic, by definition, my inner civil engineer, is movement. It's coming and going, and schools are massive traffic generators, and we cause a lot of confusion when we put lots of restrictions on the kids. And I will say that I think there are students who have jobs and need access to cars, and what the Board of Ed charges for private parking is a good thing, but it's an expensive thing, and I think we should think about that.
The students can park for free at Graydon South.
Yeah. Right. I'll tell you, when this came in on my street, I hated it. And I'm probably one of those people who ignored the village's notice. So a second notice,
And she's
I'm willing
a
to do
rule
it.
follower, by the way.
Oh, geez.
So,
Again, this is not the issue of the century.
Right.
But what's the point of even sending out letters in the first place if we're going to credit getting only 4 of them back and say we're going to make a decision based upon that? Again, don't get me wrong. If folks on this on the road felt strongly and a bunch of them showed up, or we heard separately, and I got a bunch of emails tomorrow, and speaking to all my friends on Rain in Court that, hey, if you got a problem, email me, I'd feel very differently. I'd say, all right, we should go ahead, and because I know that they can park on Graydon South. I would feel strongly about it. I would definitely change my viewpoint on this if I really thought that people had a problem with it. But it sounds like people don't have a problem or just don't care either way. And in the absence of an issue, I prefer not to legislate.
and I respect that opinion, and as you say, this is not the issue of the century, and yet we're spending a lot of time on it. I will tell you, I live across the street from Glen School, and there's no problem with parking there, except for maybe 2 days a year. And there'll be a graduation ceremony and some show, and when that happens, I have trouble getting out of my driveway. And people park right up to and over the edge of the driveway. And because I know it only happens once or twice a year, I don't really care. It's fine. If this were a daily occurrence, that's a really big problem for these people. And yes, you're right. People should respond. But there's this, statistically, 90% of people, and I'm picking that number out of the air,
Right.
but something like
Not gonna
that,
bother.
don't respond to anything. And so, we have to look at this as this was, first of all, this was recommended by our police department, who looked at this problem, and our engineering department, who looked at this, saw a problem, and they're trying to remedy it for our residents. So as a result, like I said, and I don't want to kick this around, I'm in favor of it. That's all.
I'd definitely be willing to hear more from those folks if there is a problem. But again, Paul, I come back to what's the point of sending a letter out in the first place then if we don't think people are going to respond to them? Again, I keep an open mind, but if somebody's looking to get me to vote in favor of this, I want to hear from residents or from the police or from the planner why this is such an issue, considering we don't really have any evidence that suggests it is an issue now.
Would it be possible for the full council to get the copy of the original resident complaint, and we could talk to them? I mean, I too have 2 friends who live on Rainin, and I could call them, but sometimes when we make parking so restrictive, it becomes a burden for the residents, and we hear that as well. I will say that on Cottage, I feel differently, because that is spillover from the central business district. We can talk about that. But I mean, it wasn't like police went out there and did this, that we received contact. Do we know who contacted us?
I don't.
I have an idea. We are obviously deadlocked. Lorraine will be back.
It should give you the-
Yes, and so why don't we put this on for our next work session? Keith, if you can find anything out in the meantime, terrific. Otherwise, we'll get a consensus at a meeting where we have fun.
And I promise I will drive by Rain and Court on a school day and do my own sleuthing.
There you go.
And I apologize, had circumstances been different at the beginning of this week, I would have dug into these issues a little bit more deeply than I did.
Just so you know, the
so-
flooding excuse is good for this week until the next flood, okay, so.
Well, let's hope that's.
Let's hope it's
far
not
out.
for a while. Okay, let's move on.
Under budget, we need to establish the 2024 temporary budget appropriation. This is prescribed by law. It's a housekeeping item. So this will allow us to operate for the first quarter of the year.
Wait, we could carry Cottage Place forward, just going back to that. Do we want to? I'm sorry, Paul, I just,
Oh.
I did read, we have two issues, so on Rainy Court, Evan, I don't know if you feel differently about the Cottage Place issue.
I'm more inclined to vote for Cottage because I know that
Okay,
is
so
an
Okay.
I would
let's
feel
go
comfortable.
forward with that.
I would
Yep.
feel comfortable with Cottage
Good.
Place.
Yes, agreed.
Yep.
Good point.
Yeah, sorry. And the only thing that I just want to make sure is there are two back-to-back churches there, that at some point we reach out to them on Cottage Place, right? Just in
Oh,
case
you
they,
mean,
so they're aware.
Unitarian
Yeah,
Society.
the Unitarian Church and then the.
That's not the block we're talking about, though. It's the
Be Frank-
block between
North of Franklin Ave.
North of Franklin Ave?
Yeah,
Okay. All
North.
right.
Yeah, isn't it before the curve next to Stop and Shop?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
yes.
sometimes those churches run programming and things like that, so I do think we should move it forward, but we should let the churches know.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, sorry.
next.
Okay. Support for the 24 temporary budget?
Yep.
Any
Okay.
objections?
No.
No? Good.
Okay. Traditionally, in Ridgewood, we expedite the capital ordinance for paving so that we can get that properly scheduled. I did circulate a feedback email with regard to any areas of concern. The finalized list will be available in the clerk's office prior to the introduction of the ordinance. So everybody's good to introduce this
Everybody
next
good?
week?
Yes.
Good.
Very good.
Yes, can I ask a question? Sorry, it's a work session. So with the roads, I think Evan and I had a sidebar conversation that this is us. When are we going to talk to the county about paving, particularly Ackerman?
It's already in the queue.
Okay. And we'll be able to see.
That was one of the feedback streets that one of you provided me.
Yeah,
So.
I think, and then the local list, we'll get that before the introduction?
Yeah, so there is a list that exists. I did speak to Chris before the impending storm about a few tweaks to it, but it has to be on file before at introduction with Heather's office.
Okay,
All right?
perfect, thank you.
Okay, item 3 is to amend various positions within the salary ordinance, primarily for white collar. Any questions on that?
Purpose of this?
So as you know, we do it by range. So some of those some of those positions, the range needs to be expanded based on going into the new year with what those employees will earn. And then there's a couple of change of title positions in here as well.
So you're saying range, that goes to the annual increases that they get?
Correct.
Got it. Good. I'm good. Everybody? Good?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Number 4 is to award contract for the professional land surveyor. This is a retainer agreement that we do annually through the engineering department. It's done surveying and mapping. They provide the land surveying services in preparation for the village tax assessment map for 2024, and the quote retainer is $1,900.
Everybody good? Next.
Okay, next item is award of contract under the county co-op for janitorial cleaning services. It's for this building and for the stable. After thorough discussions with Rich Charlton and Chris Rudishauser and Bob Bruni, we are looking to outsource the janitorial services for this facility and the stable, similar to what was done with Ridgewood Water. This contract can be awarded through the Bergen County Cooperative Purchasing Program, and the one employee that is assigned here in the evening will be reassigned to Clean Communities under Sean Hamlin.
And why are we looking to outsource this?
So number one, I think that this is a large building. I think for one or two people, especially doing shifts, in addition to setting up of rooms, working the community center, all the different things that happen here at Village Hall. This building's really open 24 hours a day. In my experience, this municipal building is open for longer hours than any municipal building I've ever been a part of. So there's a lot of maintenance and management of that. So in talking to Rich and Chris and Bob, we've made the collective decision that we do think we need a larger crew here to tend to this building the way it should be tended to. And we have capacity in the CBD to support moving that other employee there, the one employee that does handle the Village Hall facility and the stable, because we have needs in the CBD, especially at the parking garage, that are unattended to at this point.
And do we have money in the budget for this?
We do. Actually, this is going to save us money because there's a good possibility that some of that employee's salary will be able to be covered by a grant.
Why didn't you lead with that?
Because I haven't slept since, I don't remember.
Again, the flood.
And will this company be using our supplies for cleaning, or are they bringing their own?
I believe that in this case, we provide the supplies. The service that Water has, they bring their own supplies. I believe that's what the discussion was. Okay?
Let's move on.
Okay. Next item is authorized shared services agreement for tree removal with the county of Bergen. This came before the council sometime last year. There was a letter put out by County Administrator Tom Dutch, which required insurance for each of the trees that were being removed or affected in the county right-of-way. That policy is being revoked. The prior agreement was limited in scope in that a separate agreement was required each time a tree removal took place. The new procedure that's presented before you tonight will allow the municipality to pass a resolution, sign the shared services agreement, and implement a process that will remain in effect for the next 5 years. So we don't have to do it on a per tree basis. We'll have a blanket agreement that will cover everything.
Got it. Everybody good?
Let's do it.
Okay, authorized shared services agreement for the school resource officer. This is an agreement between the Board of Education and the village on behalf of the Ridgewood Police Department. It's just a continuation of the SRO program.
Why aren't we using a SLEO for this as opposed to a $200,000 a year police officer?
Why are we not using a special police officer?
Yes.
So the chief and the new superintendent of schools are in discussion about how to restructure that program. But for the time being, we do need this in place. And if we do make a move to go to special police officers in one or more of the schools, then this agreement will be affected by that. But those discussions are ongoing.
Okay, so this is pending.
This is
that
what we've always
discussion.
done.
Right.
We're having discussions now about moving to a special officer program.
Good.
And I actually, so much so that the chief and the superintendent met today on this exact topic. So.
Okay, but even if we don't go district-wide with specials.
Yeah, I anticipate that if we move to a special program, it's going to be implemented, that's the word I was looking for, over a period of time. There may be some schools that share.
Got it.
But again, I leave it to the superintendent and the chief to figure out what the framework or rollout of that program looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll take it from there, but this will just up the status quo.
Good.
Okay. Next issue is number 10, which is to authorize a shared services with the health department with MAWA. I've been in touch with Ben Kizmarski, who is the business administrator in MAWA. They are in the market for a health officer. We opened up dialogue about whether or not Dawn could take on that capacity 2 mornings a week. In light of the closure of Valley Hospital, and some of the pressures taken off the day-to-day operations of that office with new births and deaths and things of that nature. Dawn and I both feel comfortable that she has the capacity to take on MAWA, and we can provide this service to them. There'll be a revenue that will be taken in to the village as part of this agreement.
Good.
And there's an out clause, so if for some reason we feel that it doesn't work, or for that matter, if MAWA Board of Health feels that it doesn't work, we'll be able to make those adjustments as we go.
Good. Everybody good?
Yep.
Yeah, so
Let's
all
go.
the babies' birth certificates are going to be paramuses now?
They are, all the
Wow.
new babies. However, if I need a certified copy of either one of my children, I can walk across the hall, so. Item 11, support Bergen County Mutual Aid Plan and Rapid Development Deployment Force. This is a housekeeping item. We do this annually.
Everybody
throughout
good?
the county.
Yep.
Item 12 is to amend fees for grade and pool membership, tennis and pickleball membership, and summer day camp fees. There is a memorandum from Nancy Bigos included in here. They are recommending a slight increase to the summer day camp program because fees have not been increased since calendar year 2019. They're looking for a $125 increase from $600 to $725, which, you know, after all these years is necessary. Okay?
Good.
All right, under policy, we have established regulations for lead paint inspections. There was a new law that was signed by Governor Murphy, and all rental dwelling units must be inspected for lead paint pursuant to that public law within 2 years of the effective date of the law, which was July of 2022, and also upon tenant turnover. The village has contracted with Lou Environmental to provide this service on behalf of the village. I want to thank Dawn, and I also want to thank Heather, who really led us on this in talking to other municipalities. The process for setting up these lead paint inspections was ambiguous, to say the least, and she and Dawn really sifted through it and got us to this point. So we need to implement this ordinance. And we'll be working with a contractor to provide those services to the village.
Good.
Okay? Next
Any
up.
money from the state?
I'm sorry?
Any money from the state for this?
Yes. Well, so there's a fee to the owner that covers, and then we have a grant that is able to be utilized for outreach and for support in initiating the program. And actually, we were just about ready, because we thought the grant was going to cancel at the end of '23, but now they've extended it to June. So Dawn's working on getting that extension. We may do some sort of public education piece in the spring on this particular law. Okay, under policy, we have 2 ordinances, which were both previously discussed. This is allowing the police department to hire through the alternate route process, which is allowable under civil service. Traditionally, the 2 hiring processes were the rookie police list, or secondarily an intergovernmental transfer between another police agency that is also under the jurisdiction of civil service. This will allow for the alternate route for folks who have gone to the academy to be able to be hired. There are 2 ordinances that are required in order to enter into this civil service process. One is an anti-nepotism policy, and the other is the enabling ordinance to allow for the alternate route program, which is the entry-level police department hiring ordinance, 8D3. Any other discussion about this?
Questions?
Okay.
All good?
Moving on to operations, we have a memorandum from Heather here with regard to the adoption of the tort claim form. Pro forma, any issues there?
This is an annual, we did it last year, but I honestly didn't realize it was annual, but we have to do this annually. We adopt the tort claim form as well as pass the resolution, adopt the resolution. So we will do it every January from now on.
Questions? Everybody good? Great.
Okay, operations item 2, we have various vehicles and equipment across the village. Chris Rudershauser issued a memo in detail explaining what those vehicles or pieces of equipment are and what the issue is with them, that they are no longer useful, they no longer have a useful life here in the village. So we want to declare these as surplus property.
Questions? Good.
Okay, and finally, we have 3 additional individuals who were omitted from the original list to be appointed to the Central Business District Steering Committee. It's Tom Hillman, who's a property owner, Catherine Schmidt, who's the editor of Ridgewood Living, and Joan Groom, who is the executive director of the Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce. through the deputy mayor, we'd like to recommend those 3 individuals be placed on a resolution for appointment to supplement that committee.
For the Special Improvement District
Yes.
Steering Committee. Yeah, thank you.
And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Great, thank you, Keith. And we'll go back to public comment. No one in the audience, but we have a couple people on hybrid. So Susan, you are up. You are still on mute. Still on mute, Susan. Susan, need to unmute so that we can hear you. Thank you.
Hi.
Perfect.
Hi, sorry about that.
All good.
All right, hold on. Okay, Susan Moran, 705, Kingsbridge Lane. I just want to comment about a few of the points that were made earlier. One is the drone footage wasn't from the media. That was shown. It was actually, the drone footage was from the report that was part of the September 23rd flooding. And it really just concentrated on the sports fields that were flooded by the Hohokus Brook. And it wasn't from the media. The second is that someone mentioned that the footbridge caused a damming effect on Saddle River, which is completely incorrect. The footbridge is, there is further down on, not even a quarter of a mile, I would say even less. There's a bridge over Route 17, over Saddle River, that is similar to the East Ridgewood Avenue Bridge over the Hohokus Brook. It's a low-lying bridge, it's a flat bridge, it's approximately 6 to 10 feet lower than the Kingsbridge footbridge that could cause the damming effect. I know that there was a footbridge, what is that? I apologize.
Take your time.
There was, no, it's okay. There was a drone footage of the water flow of East Saddle River Bridge for the September 23rd storm. September 2023 storm. I was wondering if there was any similar footage of the Route 17 bridge.
I think the question is, did the drone go over the Kingsbridge Bridge?
I'm going to address the drone footage at the end of the public session.
Yeah, Susan, if you have a question,
During,
Keith's got it written
that
down and he can choose to answer it.
No, this isn't a dialogue. Yeah, no, that's okay. No, it's not a dialogue. And then the next is that I know that there was a resident that lived right beside the Route 17 bridge that wanted to build a retaining wall to prevent flooding from her house because she got badly flooded during Hurricane Ida. And the village engineer told her that her house was designated for flooding, so Route 17 wouldn't. The engineer also told her that she would be fined if she did anything to protect her property from flooding. And, that is something that, again, I think the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers should investigate, because I believe that bridge is a contributing factor to flooding that happens here. I do not consider the footbridge, because the footbridge is so much higher. And the storm pipe, when we've seen it flood for Ida, the bridge wasn't even touched. It was, but anyway, it's the one further down that I believe is the one that's causing the damming effect. And finally, I was wondering if the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was able to, is going to also assess the removal of all the trees over at Shedler, and if they're going to contribute to flooding of Saddle River, because as it was pointed out, trees help absorb runoff water when it rains, but since those trees are going to be removed, will that exacerbate the flooding downstream? And I know, like, on
Susan, Susan, you're out of time. If you could just finish up.
yeah, okay. And I just said on Monroe, there's this, whenever it rains, there is this like huge cascading water effect that goes down that road. That, you know, it's something that is a little bit
Susan, you're breaking up, but you are out of time. So we're going to move on. Thank you. Rurik, you're up next. And you're on mute, Rurik. There we go.
Rurik Holiday, 1 Franklin Avenue. Cindy and I watched the meeting. I would say we were more like glued to the meeting because in many, many years of attending VC meetings, this was by far what sets the gold bar for quality of meetings, for what a municipal government should be all about. You guys were absolutely tremendous. You're caring, you're knowledgeable, you're honest. And I also really want to compliment Keith for the way he addressed the flooding honestly. And he did not try to come up with an easy solution. He just presented the facts. I'm so proud to know you all and to really see the quality that the village council has come to. Now, sometimes I worry myself because am I getting soft in my old age? But I don't think so. Finally, we are having the government in Ridgewood that Ridgewood deserves. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Rurik. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment.
Mayor, if I could just make a few comments with regard to Susan's input. First of all, I want to, and I should have clarified this at the top of the meeting. The drone footage was taken in September of the damage to municipal and Board of Education property because I was anticipating the fact, and we did, need to submit a claim to our insurance company. And I was concerned that unless there was true photo documentation, which the drone footage provided very well, and I want to thank the chief, thank the police department, the drone team, and Chief Lyons for allowing his men to do that. It also served as a training exercise for them, which was helpful as well. But the drone footage, while we used it in a presentation and we've shared it with other agencies, the drone footage was primarily captured to support our insurance claim. Honestly, I never had a thought about sending them down to any other location other than the damage that was done to municipal property. In future floods, maybe there's a possibility that we do that in order to share that with the Army Corps and the DEP and other agencies so that they could see the extensive damage that is done in that corridor along Saddle River, and we'll take that under advisement moving forward. With regard to the footbridge, and I'm going to read from an email that Christine Fleischman, who spoke earlier in the meeting, sent to me on Friday. It says, while gearing up for what could be the 6th flooding event in the past 12 months, it is imperative that we address specific concerns that contribute to the issue. These include the footbridge on East Saddle River Road acting as a dam, down trees posing potential hazards, and the constant issue of landscapers depositing leaves into the river, and she goes on with her email. But this is where it was first identified to me, to my office, that there could be a concern amongst the folks who live on East Saddle River Road about the footbridge, as opposed to the folks on the other side in the neighborhood around Shedler who have been advocating for its repair or replacement. And finally, the DEP regulates development in the flood zone, so any of that enforcement would be coming from state law or code or regulation that's imposed by the Department of Environmental Protection. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. Anyone else?
Yeah, just like to, in addition to what Keith said to Suzanne, while we are removing trees, a significant amount of them are invasive, and the replanting effort at Shedler exceeds the trees that are being removed, and they will not be invasive species.
Yeah, and I don't believe that the Army Corps will opine on other properties. I think if what their charge, what their mission will be, should they accept it here in Ridgewood, is to figure out how to best impact the channel, the water body itself, any type of retention or diversion that can be done that will have least impact on any neighboring municipalities or any other neighborhoods, even in the village.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Let's call it a night.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Gets worse.